So I've been rewatching the Memberberry episode of South Park, and that's kind of what this TSM season feels like. Let's talk about TSM. Yes, that's right. It is the Memberberry episode because apparently TSM thinks that they can buy us out with nostalgia, and this Academy roster is something. So let's go through it real quickly here. Here's the question of the day. Let me know again in the comment section below your thoughts on this. What types of players do you want on an Academy slash Challenger team? Now, again, I think it's going to change to Challengers team from here on out, but I'm still going to call it Academy for right now until that's more official. So let's, I don't know, guys. This is interesting. So we start with Hanser, who was on our Academy team back in 2020, if you had forgotten, and that was, well, I guess 2021, excuse me. And that was the last team that he was on. He did not get picked up at all in 2022. And, I want to start by saying the positives, and then I'll go into the negatives at the end here. Positives are that Hanser is still, I think, a really good person. I think he's probably an okay player still, and I believe that TSM content with a person like this back on the team is going to be fantastic. Hanser is a really I think memorable member of the team from all those championships that we won during his time in the top lane, and he filled a huge void when he stepped in. But I don't know what his playing level is still, so we'll get into that here in a little bit. But he's coming back, and we know that he's at least competent enough to play well in the Challengers League. The second one that apparently is coming back is Svenskeren. Now, I will tell you, out of every single player on this list, this is the one I am most interested in. I do think that he wasn't given a fair shake after being let go from Evil Geniuses. I do think that he is I think he still has some left in the tank, and I think if Boogie's actually going to end up being our jungler and Svenskeren's actually going to be our Academy jungler, I do think that if there's a player that's going to step up and go on to the main roster relatively quickly, I believe that this would be the player. I would have much rather had Svenskeren at the beginning than Boogie, but I guess we'll find out about that one and see how ice cold of a take that might be here once the season gets started. But I do believe that Dennis still has some juice left in the tank. He is 26. He'll be turning 27 at the beginning of the year, which, again, makes him a little older to be in the league at this point. But I still think that there's enough there to where is he going to be the best jungler in the league? No. Is he going to be the worst jungler in the league? Probably not. Is he going to be, fighting somewhere between 6th, 7th, maybe 4th or 5th at the best? Sure, that's possible. And I really do believe that if there's a player on this roster that was here to back up Boogie as a true option, like second option, I believe that Svenskeren would be that. So positives about Svenskeren is that I still think he can play. Triple. Now, listen, I don't think Triple is bad in any way, but and I still think, he's going to be, I think, the youngest or the second youngest player on the team, on both teams. Definitely the youngest player on this team, but I'm pretty sure at least. But I think that Triple has had plenty of opportunities with FlyQuest, with CLG Academy. He did not seemingly prove on those teams where there were options that he could replace, that he was good enough to replace those options. And if you really think that he's going to replace Maple, I would be very shocked at that, because looking at our team going forward for next year, I think there's an argument that Maple is the best player on our team, and I don't know that there's much of an argument outside of that. So if Triple's, going to be our one younger-ish player on this squad that TSM are trying to develop, I really, I just don't understand why you wouldn't stay with Takeover instead. I don't get it at this one. I think Takeover was not only younger, but I think he is much more talented than Triple was. And Takeover is apparently going to have to go play back in the LLA or LATAM and instead of being on this team. So I hope I'm wrong again on Triple. I think he's fine for an academy option, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like this one probably as much as the next one, which is Wild Turtle. And guys, again, Memberberries, right? You remember when Wild Turtle came in and changed the TSM team and the landscape? Yeah, I do remember that. But guess what? Okay, we're staying positive first. Wild Turtle is a fantastic personality. I do think that he absolutely is going to create great content with TSM. I believe that he has come in and saved our bacon before, and maybe if Neo doesn't work out, then Wild Turtle could actually step in and be okay. But yet again, he played on Academy. He hasn't played in the LCS in over a year. I think there is a reason for that. This is not the same as I'm sure many of you are going to try to argue, well, Doublelift is older than him and Doublelift is doing this. Guys, Wild Turtle is a historic player, is a great player. Doublelift is one of the two best players of all time in our region for a reason. He has won more championships than Wild Turtle ever even participated in. Okay, I mean, I'm not totally out on Wild Turtle. I think he could be a valuable option for a backup in case if Neo doesn't work, but I don't really foresee that happening, and I think there's a reason why that Wild Turtle was not realistically on a team last year. The last one here is Draku. I know a lot of Osh people are excited about him. Chiefs Gaming is a pretty prominent team. They had Tapoon, who we will recognize from our old Academy team, Arthur, Tally, Raze, Babip, and Draku. And I think Draku is, again, if he was one of the pieces, not kind of the same repeating type of piece for this TSM Academy roster, I wouldn't hate it. But he's not going to replace Chime, I don't think, at all. I would say of every player on this list, outside of Triple, Draku is Chime's the least likely to be replaced. I do believe that Chime is a pretty solid piece. So, I mean, I don't know much more about him other than the fact that, he's a lot of people really liked him in Osh. He can play good engaged champions. I'm glad that he is getting a chance in the LCS after having to kind of hang in Osh for a while, and maybe they're hoping that this will be another Ayla situation, right? Which would be very ideal for us, right? For a multitude of reasons. I don't know his age, so I'm not going to speculate that he's older or younger. I mean, he's only been in League of Legends. He was initially a top laner that role swapped to support after 1 year. And he's only been playing since 2019, so he can't be probably older than 23, 24 maybe. So he's clearly, young enough and is an interesting option, I would say. And maybe they're going to find him to be again, like another Ayla, which would be fantastic. I mean, that would be the best case scenario, is that we have two supports that actually have to battle it out and take over the team, for the future. But overall, guys, this roster is pretty bad, if I'm being honest. We have 3 players that have not played League of Legends at a professional level in over a year. We have, you know, we have a mid laner that's clearly not going to supplant the mid laner that we have now. So I don't know why we wouldn't go with somebody who is more highly regarded potentially. Now, I will give them a pass in the sense that mid lane is a black pit right now in terms of the academy scene. If they missed out on Copy and they missed out on people like Harry, then, whatever. And again, Draku could be interesting, but you seem committed to Chime, so I don't know why you wouldn't try to go for somebody completely unknown, like some 17-year-old stud solo queue guy who's really raw, who's going to take a couple years to develop. And maybe that's Draku. I don't know. I don't know enough about him, like outside of the research, the small research that I've done to really speak on that. But here's the reality. This team is not one that looks like it's going to be anything other than just trying to feed us that nostalgia, right? That Memberberry, as I'm jokingly saying from South Park, if you haven't seen it, worth a little bit of a watch, where they tried to feed you nostalgia to make you feel a certain way about a certain topic, right? And that's the idea behind it. And that's what this feels like for TSM. I just don't really understand it. We don't have a single player that's under 23, so that to me makes it feel like we don't have any developmental parts that they care about for the future. This feels like a roster that, hey, we've got to get 10 players for LCS and for Challenger/Academy this year, and we're just going to grab people who will actually work with us, and we won't have to pay very much. And that's just kind of what this feels like. And this Academy roster, they had the opportunity. There are players out there. I have seen the rumored rosters. I don't see Will on any of those rosters. So I don't understand. Like, he's available. And again, Sven Skaren's probably the one player on this whole freaking thing that I actually think is good. Like, why not do Sven Skaren at the top and then Will here? It's just, to me, guys, it just feels like it's pretty obvious that TSM either don't care or they really don't have a lot of money, and they are stabilizing for this year. And they're hoping that I saw this on Twitter, somebody said this to me, so I'm going to put this new hopeful perspective out there. So this episode is going to be a little bit longer than normal. But the hope is, I guess, that this new partnership in January is going to give them the money that they need to just, they'll get through this year with the players that they have, and then they will use the money from that partnership to double down and have, a full new ecosystem of players and all this other stuff, right? I will be honest with you. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, if they were really that confident that this sponsorship or partnership or whatever it is was going to come through, right? That if that were the case, then they would sign these players and their contracts don't start till next year anyways, I believe. So they wouldn't have to start paying them until beginning of the year once they got the money in from this partnership anyways. So I'm not that hopeful for that. I would love for that to be the case. I would love for my negativity to be completely washed away. I want you guys to be able to tell me in the comment section that I'm an idiot and that this team does care and that, I am very much overreacting. I would love for that. I cannot express to you how much I want that to be true. But at this point, I'm not convinced. So, I mean, we'll see. This Academy roster just doesn't do it for me. I mean, yay for nostalgia, I guess. But, this feels like a, hey, one last ride kind of a thing. And not like, hey, we're trying to be better. And I will admit, most of the Academy rosters weren't what I expected. They didn't feel great, if I'm being honest with you. And maybe the strategy for a lot of these LCS teams are, hey, we're going to watch these challenger teams come up and see what players we can kind of just pick off of them. And we're just going to put people in there for now who cost nothing, and we'll just see what comes up next. Allow these amateur teams to do their scouting for them. But I just don't know. I really don't. I am very confused and very lost with the thought process right now. So if you guys got a better idea than me as to what is going on, and a more positive spin on it, then I am open to it. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. So I don't know. You guys know the drill. Videos below me, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.